On today's collectible spot, we're having a look at something actually quite substantially large. At least certainly the box is quite substantially large. But inside this box, we're going to be having a look at the Imaginative Super Alloy, the new 52 Superman 1/6 scale collectible figure. Of course, before we have a look at the figure, what we always do here first is we have a look at the box that the figure is packed inside. And again, this is a substantially large box and actually quite heavy as well. When you factor in the parts, the figure itself, the individual parts and base that he comes included with, this box ends up being quite a heavy piece indeed. Before, though, let's move the camera in here. I just want to show you this really interesting crest on the front here. Yes, it is the new 52 Superman crest, but it is metal. It is a metal crest, metal logo that they've put on the box itself. I also really like this decorative print that they put on the box too. It's not just a flat surface, it's got some texture to it. Spinning around the side of the box, not the easiest of tasks when the box is this big, but on the top there it says Super Alloy, the new 52 1/6 scale collectible figure. Moving the side here, I also like that the flap, because this is a shoebox style flap, this whole top panel, this whole top of the box is going to come off, but I like where you can grab the box. It's shaped like the Superman S. This is Spot's first Super Alloy figure. And they've also produced a Batman as well. I'm wondering if the Batman would have had a Batman-shaped symbol as the side of the box. But it's a really beautiful touch, and I'm glad they included that. Spinning around the back of the box, and bring the camera down there. It says recommended for ages 15 and up, choking hazard. It's an adult collectible. It's certainly not a toy. And you can head over to www, right down below there, www.playimaginative.com. You can also head over to superalloyfigure.com as well. Having said that, Spot's going to get this very large box opened up. I'm extremely excited to have a look at this figure and certainly to show it off to you guys as well. But when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Super Alloy, the new 52 Superman 1/6 scale collectible figure. There's definitely more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Oh no, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. The first thing that we'll have a look at is the instruction manual. It comes with the Super Alloy Superman. It shows you how to change out the head, as he does have several different heads. We'll have a look at that in a second. He does have a compartment to change the batteries, because he does also light up. I'll show you that also in a second. And on the very bottom, it shows you how to set up the Fortress of Solitude base. Look at the Fortress of Solitude display stand that comes with Superman. Really impressive piece, and again, very, very large in size. It's an opaque white plastic. You can kind of see my hand, maybe not so much. You can see my hand going through it there. There's also a little vent which will be projecting a fan. Yes, there is actually a fan that's going to be on this base, and you'll see what it does in a minute. In order to do that, though, we flip it on the underside there, and there is a battery plate. Just put your finger underneath, pull it out, and it has a section for 6 AAA batteries. Luckily, though, the folks over at Play Imaginative do include your AAA batteries when you get your display stand. You don't have to worry about getting the batteries when you don't have to go and buy batteries when you get the display stand out. With the batteries in place, the other assembly that's required for the Fortress of Solitude is you get a couple of extra Solitude pieces. The instructions are pretty good for showing you where to put them, and they suggest that you tip the display stand up, and you'll see that there are 2 holes and 2 slots up at the top there. Taking your first piece, and you see at the very end there is a triangle, right, see on the end there? Line it up to the triangle that's on the end of the base, right there. And you kind of have to tip it on an angle. When I first did it, I put it straight and it didn't quite fit. But if you tip it on an angle and just peg it in, you'll see that it lines itself up like so. Taking the mirrored piece, once again lining it up, and the pieces will go inward, just like so. So kind of the same thing that you did over there. You're just going to peg it into place here, and you're going to have the top of the display stand assembled. Get yourself a couple of smaller pieces of the Fortress of Solitude display base, and find the best way to do that is take the longest piece. You see how this piece is longer than this piece, this end here. Take the longest piece, and that's going to run right down the side, and it should peg into place. Take the peg on the underside of the piece, a little peg hole there, and line the two up, just like so. Peg them into place. Sometimes you have to put a little bit of pressure, and just like that, you've got yourself the finished Fortress of Solitude. Well, I shouldn't really say that. There's one longer piece, but that's very easy to put together. You're just going to take the two pegs, line them up, and that pops into place, and you've got yourself a finished display stand. Looks really cool. Just wait until you see it with the lights and the fan. Gets himself a second display stand if you want to just display him without the Fortress of Solitude, and a really beautiful looking piece on the front. It says the new 52 Superman, complete with the new Superman updated logo up at the top there. This material feels like it's a rubber material that's on the top there. On the underside it says Play Imaginative Super Alloy figure. There is a peg point up the top there where you can display the arm that also comes with the display stand. The neck comes in two pieces. You'll see the main piece has 3 adjustable points. All have really nice ratcheted joints. There's also little adjustments that you can make on the sides to loosen or tighten these individual parts of the neck. You can take the bottom section of the neck and peg it into Superman's display stand. And then at the top, you're going to take this piece right here. Now this piece right here will sit in between Superman's legs and hold him. The tops, these 2 extra pieces, can adjust independently, and this will hold, you can hold Superman's waist in place. There is also an inclusion of a rubber grip on the inside there that keeps it from scratching the surface of the Super Alloy Superman. So that's a really, really nice touch. Pegging that into place, and you've got yourself a display stand ready to hold the Man of Steel. Just something like that. Last but certainly not least in the way of accessories, Superman also comes with a remote control. A remote control with Superman? Absolutely. On the top there is the Superman S. The remote has a good bit of weight to it and is finished in this really nice blue metallic coloring. Switch on the front. Now the switch won't work. The remote only works with Superman, but it is only after Superman has the batteries installed in him and he is turned on. Don't worry, I'll show you guys that in a second. To change the batteries or to add the batteries, you just need a dime or some sort of coin. I've just got a dime here. Just unscrew this and you can put in the batteries. It takes LR41 batteries, and luckily the folks over at Play Imaginative have also included batteries for, as we've already looked at, the display stand, the remote control, and also Superman gets his batteries included as well. So you don't have to worry about buying any batteries when you first get the figure. Which brings us to the Man of Steel. And as I had mentioned before with the box, when you first get this figure, you're really going to be amazed by how heavy he is. He is completely die-cast. From head to toe, the Man of Steel is completely, well, not steel, but certainly a die-cast metal. He definitely has a substantial amount of weight to him, and he's such a beautiful looking piece. Having a look at Superman's face, you can see that he's definitely sporting a much younger looking appearance, as he would from the new 52 comics. Also omitted in this particular Superman is the Superman curl in his hair. It now has been replaced with the hair being combed to the side. Again, all nice touches, and as you know my feelings for the new Superman, new 52 Superman, I don't mind this design. The face definitely is superior on this figure. As it goes for new 52 Superman, there's been a couple of statues and certainly figures made of the new 52 Superman. I gotta say, this is definitely one of the better ones for sure. I mean, the paint on the eyes and the coloring in the hair, I really like the flesh color as well. It has a real natural look to it. To say nothing for the metallic blue, the gold, and the red that we're going to be looking at in the costume, I mean, this Superman is a win. Depending on your preference, the folks over at Play Imaginative have also given you 2 additional heads. One, the head that you're seeing right now. There is also, right there, a much angrier looking Superman. Again, your preference as to how you want him displayed. And also, there's a really interesting heat vision version of Superman as well, which also plays into the lights that we're going to be looking at in a second as well. Superman's head, all you have to do is just kind of start wiggling, and be very careful. Start wiggling the head of Superman as you're pulling it. You don't want to just abruptly pull it right out, because one thing also inside is the light. And that's going to play a big role for when you're changing and using the heat vision sculpted head. But you just take the head and plug it into place. Once again, being very careful, and you plug that in, and you've got angry Superman. Not really my preference. If anything, I would give him probably the heat vision eyes, or I'd also just give him just the regular sculpted face. But I'm happy to see that they would include not 1, not 2, but 3 heads in total, so you can have your Superman posed any which way that you want, any expression certainly that you want. For Superman's battery compartment, you're just going to want to spin around the back of the figure. I'm going to be taking this figure head off anyways to show you guys the heat vision, but you're just going to once again wiggle that off, pop it off like so, and you can see the start of the battery compartment. And it takes a little bit of adjusting to get this battery compartment down like so. Luckily, the upper collar here is rubbery, so getting this to pull down, it's not too much of an issue, despite the fact that you would think it would be an obstruction. Getting it down is not an issue. Taking a screwdriver, which is also supplied, you're going to take the screwdriver and just unscrew the battery plate. I wish, if anything, I'm glad that they've concealed the battery compartment, but I wish, if anything, they could have actually had the battery compartment maybe on his back. Just would have made things a little easier getting to the batteries, and you wouldn't have to pry the neck collar down. But you see, the batteries are already installed in Superman. With the batteries in place and the Superman turned on, you can take the alternate head, which is in this case the head that comes with the heat ray vision, and peg it into the top of his head. Normally it would be able to light up. Unfortunately though, for some reason my unit, I can't seem to get the lights to work. I've tried changing the batteries a couple of times, and of course I try the remote control, which should activate the lights. Unfortunately though, it doesn't work on my particular unit. It's a real shame, but this whole heat ray vision section here would light up a bright red. Certainly even without it lighting up, the touch of having the heat ray vision sculpted in coming out from his eyes is really a nice look for Superman as well. I just wish it's a shame though. I just wish I would be able to light it up for you guys. At Play Imaginative also give you a slew of different hands for the Man of Steel. 8 total hands included. 10 really if you count the ones that he is currently wearing, and those hands range anywhere from a single pointing finger hand, flying hands, ideal for Superman if you want to pose him in flight mode, and he also has a couple of gripping hands and a couple of fists. To change the hands, you're going to do the same thing that you did with the head. Just going to take the hand and wiggle it ever so slightly to pop it off of its ball socket. And it's a smaller peg, so you have to be careful with applying it. Just take the fist, and you'll also want to get it around the Superman emblem on his sleeve. So you kind of have to tip the hand down to peg the hand into place, but you have something that looks like that. You're looking at Superman thinking he's missing something. Superman definitely has something more than just his suit. Where's his cape? Well, they have also included 2 Superman capes. One being a pliable, just a straight fabric cape with the black Superman emblem on the front here. The other cape, however, is a denser material and also has a wire frame. There's a wire frame running down the sides, wire frame running all the way around the bottom point of the Superman cape. And this particular cape can bend, and you can fold it So you can really get it in many different poses, depending on how you want to pose the Man of Steel. To install Superman's cape, you'll see that how there is two end tabs to the cape itself. What you're going to do is take the cape and fold it in. Fold it in like that, so you're only going to get a point that looks like that. Do the same on the other end, folding this in, and you'll have, if I can just get this to fit there properly, you'll get that same point on the edge here. Those points are going to be what you use to connect to Superman. There is just a very tiny slot right there on either side of his chest. I don't know if you guys can see it all right. Right in there. And you're going to take that cape and you're going to peg it in to those slots. With the cape attached, you get something that looks like this. Definitely completes Superman quite nicely with the inclusion of the cape. And there's the Superman logo on the back there. It is really your preference to which cape you prefer. I like just the straight out cape because it flows a lot more. It flows a lot more than the denser cape that I'll show you in a second. But the benefit of using this cape, though, is that you can use it with this. Now, remember we were building this earlier. One thing I didn't show you, though, was if I just flip the Fortress of Solitude base up, there is a, right there, there's a knob. You can turn it, and it lights up this section right here. I don't know if you can see it, but there are 4 lights, 5 lights up at the top there, 5 lights total to light up the base. You turn it half turn, and there is a fan that projects out a gush of wind. How that works is that you can take your Superman and turning that fan on again, you can have the cape blowing. Not well, but I mean, it still gives you a good effect. And I like that. I like the inclusion of that. I guess depending on how you really have the cape, if you kind of have it to the side, it probably will be blowing a little bit more. But it's nice. It's a nice way to include, and certainly a nice way to show off the Man of Steel. Superman with his other cape as well, which of the two I prefer a little bit more. For starters, it's longer, and I also like that it's a denser material, it's not as see-through, and really liking the wireframe. With the wireframe built into the cape, I can adjust and move the cape depending on how I want to pose the Man of Steel. So of the two, I like this cape a lot more, but I like the fact that you get the option of 2 different capes with Superman. Articulation, Superman's head rotates left and right. It does not move up and down, and that's likely due to the electronics that are providing the light source in the neck, but you still get a movement left and right in the neck. His shoulders are on a very posable arm ball joint, so they do move forward and back out. He does have a rotation in the bicep. He has a ratcheted double bend in the elbow. Rotation and hinge in the hand. He's got the upper torso swivel. Doesn't really move too much, but swivels back and forth. Lots of movement in the lower torso, right at the waist area here. I mean, you can move it quite a bit back and forth and up and down. His legs are also on a ball and socket, so they move forward, back, out. Rotation in the thigh. They're a little loose, and not really loose because the joint, but loose just because this is all, like, again, die cast metal. It wouldn't make sense that, you know, these are a little more weighted. He has a really nice double bend at the knee, and he also has a swivel and bend in the foot. We really haven't even touched base on the paint. I mean, look at the phenomenal coloring of this cranberry red in the boot coloring here. Also the coloring in the red in the belt really showcase well against the metallic coloring of the blue in Superman's the rest of Superman's attire. If you're lucky enough to get yourself the exclusive version of this figure, he also does come with several different crystals that you can put into the Fortress of Solitude display base. See at the very back there, there's a opening here. You can take one of your crystals, let's take the green crystal, and you can slide it to the back of the display stand. It doesn't still affect anything for the light up end of it. It still only will light up here, but I like the inclusion of that. It's certainly a nice touch as well. Also, one other thing too with the switch, there are 3 different settings for the switch. First turn turns on all the lights. Second turn turns on the fan, or I should say the second turn turns on the fan, and then the third mode turns the lights and the fan on. And I guess really the icing on the cake is the folks over at Imaginative also give you a backboard. You can display Superman on his display stand, but behind him you can have the Metropolis cityscape. Again, really nice way to display your figure, and something probably I'm going to have my figure displayed with. I say necessarily that this figure is perfect. No, I mean, it's a shame that, again, that his battery compartment to change out the batteries to light his face up are concealed behind his collar. I wish, if anything, that they had put the battery compartment on his back, right by the switch. It would have certainly made things a little bit easier. Despite that, and the fact that sadly I couldn't get the eyes to light up on at least my unit, I am overall really happy with the piece. Imaginative have also approached the Iron Man suits, which was one of the things that got me interested in the company as a whole. I mean, those pieces are absolutely gorgeous. Superman equally is a really nice looking piece. And I'm also happy the fact that Imaginative approached this as a new 52 costume rather than just a classic Superman outfit. I mean, there are so many Superman figures out there sporting the classic attire that to get a new 52 version of him is a nice change of pace. As it goes for Superman figures, this is one of my favorite pieces in my collection. He's big, he's got a good bit of weight to him, and he really looks well on a display shelf. If you are certainly a fan of Superman and really like the new 52 costume like I do, you might want to definitely pick this figure up. Today's toy spot, today's collectible spot, we're having a look at the Imaginative Super Alloy Superman, new 52 costume Superman, I might add, the 1/6 scale collectible figure. Don't be going anywhere, guys. Spot's going to be having a look at other collectibles heading your way very soon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.